Hey guys, welcome to our mentorship session. Okay, so we are actually going to discuss a lot of things today regarding the topic, which was already shown to you, right? Which is like what skills do companies actually require in data scientists currently in today's scenario? Okay. However, before actually starting out this session, I would really like to know who of you are actually joining the session and who have joined the session and from where you are and how did you like our boot camp and what kind of experience that was. So please share that with us, okay, before we actually go ahead with this mentorship session, and then we will basically see what kind of skills and what kind of overall like skill set do you need to build to actually get recruited in today's scenario in data science and machine learning. Okay, so that would be our agenda for today. All right, so let me see who is online. Okay, so currently it's showing me around 20 people online, 17 to be exact. Okay, Shrikant, Liaquat, Suman says hello. Ashwini says hi, sir. Hey guys, so welcome to the session. All right, please do let us know from like how was your experience with the boot camp? Okay, how did you feel it was, and were you able to kind of understand the overall approach to what we built and all of that stuff, right? So just tell us that as well. Okay, also do tell us about your journey in data science and your journey in machine learning till this point. Okay, so whether you have been searching for opportunities, whether you have been searching for job, or at what stage basically you are in your data science journey. Okay, because we would be also taking questions, okay, some of the questions regarding this point, okay, that when you basically want to join a company, when you basically want to kind of get a job in this field, right? What have been your experiences? Okay, or you can basically ask us anything regarding this topic. Okay, so that would be the ultimate goal today for this session. All right, Yasmin says, hello everyone. I also wanted to know the difference between machine learning engineer and data scientist. Yasmin, we would be definitely talking about these topics as well, like what are the difference between different profiles. Okay, that we will also be covering in today's session. So just remain for the remaining session, right? And we will basically discuss that what's the difference between a machine learning engineer and a data scientist and a data engineer and other profiles as well which are present in your data science domain. All right, so let's see who else has joined. Okay, Axis has joined and he's saying, hi, I'm Axis from Philippines. I'm starting data scientist and would like to know more about this career path. Looking forward to learning more from you. Thanks. Oh, that's great, Axis. I hope you enjoyed our bootcamp sessions, right? And we will basically be having these mentorship sessions in the following days, right? So I hope all of you are joining these sessions as well to get a great value out of them. Okay. All right. So let's see who else. Okay. All right, so let's just wait around a minute more so that a few more people can join, and then we can actually just start with the session itself. All right. Meanwhile, you can also tell me about your experience as well. So let's say if you have actually gone at a time, like if you have tried to attempt a job opportunity in data science or machine learning or something, right? So we would also like to know how did that go, okay? Or what was your experience with that opportunity? Did you grab it or were you not able to successfully get that job, right? And what did you learn about that? So do share about that as well. Okay. Asanda is saying, hey Nitam guy, the experience was awesome, very insightful. I like the end-to-end practical component of it. I'm transitioning from NOC engineer to data science focus area to the demand of our operations at work. It's always great to listen to you. Hey, that's a great compliment. Thanks, Asanda. It's like we are really thrilled to hear this. Okay, because it obviously takes a lot of effort from our side to actually kind of build and plan this kind of an event, right? And your awesome participation, right? That's basically really thrilling, and we really are very grateful for it. Okay. All right, so someone is saying, hi, I'm Suman from Bangalore, like the boot camp. I've been working cloud, just started with ML and DL. I need to know how to get into the ML and DL domain. All right. Yeah, so we will be discussing about that only today. So just kind of hang out with the session. All right, so okay, so currently 23 people. All right, so let's get started with today's agenda. All right, so today we are actually going to discuss like exactly what do companies want from you. Okay, so in case of data science, right, or in case of any job, basically, it's basically that if you understand the key point that what exactly companies wants from you, or what exactly the organization is requiring from your side, right, the process to get hired becomes really simple. Okay, so I'm basically going to quickly tell you all the points, or all the main things which you should actually keep in mind, all right, which will get you hired much more quickly and much more effectively in this area, right? Rather than you just keep on doing the old stuff and you just kind of get never getting hired, or getting hired really late in the opportunity. Okay, all right. So the first point which we are actually going to discuss is something related to the data itself. So I don't know how many of you actually actively participated in the boot camp, right? I'm sure that most of you have actually gone through the recordings or the live sessions itself, right? So but I think everyone here knows that the data is the key part to machine learning, right? That's the integral part, right? So what basically companies require from your side in terms of data set, right, is that you should have had an experience with the data set itself. So you should have had an experience with real world data sets. Okay, now what does that exactly mean? Okay, so experience with real world data sets mean that you should have worked with data sets which occur in real life scenarios. So the data sets which companies generally deal with, okay, the data sets which are generally messy and difficult to deal with and is not that easy to get value out of. So that kind of data sets, okay, and generally companies do deal with these kind of data sets. Okay, it's very rare that you would find a company dealing with a data set which is really clean. You can just kind of develop a simple model and you will just run it on that data set and it will give you plenty of insights, right? That never happens. That never ever happens. Okay, why would that never happen? Because of the simple reason that if it would happen so easy to tap into the data and get the insights to actually increase your business, right, everyone would have done it, and there would have been no value in machine learning or data science or whatever you want to call it, right? That's the reason that no company is able to actually kind of tap into the full scope of data science even now, even at this point of time. Okay, even in 2019. Okay, most of the companies are continuously improving their data science pipelines. Most of the companies are continuously creating or buying, or let's say, like, yeah, creating or buying new machine learning or data science frameworks to give them an edge over the competition. Okay, so the first thing in this real world data sets, or real world handling of the real world data, right? The first point here is the size of the data set. So the first thing which companies require from your side is that you should not be only comfortable with smaller data sets which you can process on your single machines or your own laptop or on your own desktop. You should be able to handle any size of data set. Okay, so what happens is that when you are actually dealing with a company, when you're dealing with an organization is running continuously, right? It's running day and night to produce some value for consumers, for customers, or for anyone, right? So the data actually continuously increases in any department. The data will continuously increase by the day, by the hour, by the month, right? So obviously after a time the data sets would be huge, right? The data you will be dealing with will not be in a will not fit basically in your conventional systems, right? You might require some additional assistance in processing that kind of data set, right? So to be able to effectively kind of analyze or model that data set, right, you need to understand how to deal with big data sets. Okay, how to deal with your big data, as it is said, right? So that is the first component of dealing with real world data sets. The second component of dealing with real world data sets is the complexity or the quality of the data. Okay, so if you are basically dealing with a data set, right, even if it is small, even if it is not that much of a big data, right? Let's say it's just 1 MB data, or let's say it's just has 1500 rows or 2000 rows or something like that, right? So in that case as well, the data set itself could be messy, it could be dirty. So what do I mean by dirty data set? So by dirty data set I mean set, so it could basically have empty columns, it could have empty cells, it could have invalid values in a column. So let's say, for example, you are dealing with a column which actually represents the price of a product or something, right? In that case, you can have like invalid value in that column. So it could have a text value or something like that, which is not a valid price, right? So stuff like that. So this basically makes your dirty data or your the data very complex to deal with, right? So this is the second aspect of your real world data sets. Okay, if you kind of understand how to deal with these problems related to data sets, right, the first obstacle in getting hired for these roles, which are machine learning engineer, data scientist, or data analyst, right, they are already like cleared. Those obstacle, that obstacle is done. Okay, you have already passed that obstacle. You are free to go ahead. Okay, so now what exactly do you need to do to deal with these kind of problems in this real world data sets, right? What do you need to do is you need to actually use these kind of data sets. You need to work on the projects which actually use this kind of data sets to like, which are really big in size. Okay, so not really addressable by your own simple machine, which is your own desktop or laptop. Other thing which you can do is you can really work with really complex and messy data sets, right, which have a lot of invalid values, missing values, corrupted values, right, which have a lot of data missing, which where you will have to create a lot of features itself and all of that stuff, right? That is the reason. Actually, this is the primary reason, because we are actually discussing this point first, because this is the major point why candidates are actually kind of like not selected in these positions, right? This is the major point that we have, that we actually kind of addressed in our Inception course as well. Because if I don't know how many of you actually saw the syllabus or the projects, right, but if you will go through with the curriculum, right, you would basically definitely see that we are actually having two capstone projects, definite exclusive two capstone projects, which are basically dealing with a size of more than, for one project is more than 50 GB of size, and for the another project is more than 250 GB of size. So your size problem is basically solved over there. We obviously work with that as well, right? The another problem which we solve is your complexity of data. So both the capstone projects basically which we are doing in the Inception course, they both have a lot of complexity in them, involving a lot of missing data, involving a lot of corrupted values and all of that stuff, right? So we had to do a lot of feature engineering and stuff to actually get right value out of them. Okay, so that's the reason we actually do this. And why, how are we able to like kind of recognize this trend? So we are able to actually recognize this trend in hiring, that basically we need a lot of real world data set experience in candidates, because I have been actually on the other side of the interview a lot. Okay, so I have taken interviews of a lot of data science aspirants who are trying to get into the field. I have also interviewed a lot of experienced data scientists and a lot of experienced data analysts. And the main reason which I feel and which I actually see as well, because I discussed with the other members in the panel as well, and the main reason basically which I like felt that most of them got rejected, whoever was getting rejected, was the reason that they were not able to either address the data issue. Okay, so they were not really clear how to get the value out of any given data set. Okay, they were only knowing about the data sets which they have dealt with. Okay, so it might be a smaller data set on their own machine, or some kind of data set which their own course taught them to be, or something like that, which was not that complex or which was not that big in size, right? So the complexity was not huge. So in that case, they basically didn't understand that if they go to any company and that company would throw them any kind of data set, how would they deal with that data set? Okay, so that's the reason why we actually include in our Inception program as well this kind of projects, so that the data is basically purely huge and purely messy. So if you will just kind of use that data to get any value, you won't be able to, until and unless you know how to handle any kind of real world data set in terms of getting a value out of it. Okay, so that's the first point which basically stops anyone from being a data scientist, or basically getting a job in this domain as a data scientist, as a data analyst, as a machine learning engineer, whatever it is. Okay, the second point which I'm going to discuss, and this is again a very very important point, and I cannot basically stress the importance of it, because for any company for which I have actually taken the interview, right? Whether it has been my employer company or whether it has been a company for which I am consulting, and they are basically asking me to hire someone as a resource for machine learning engineer or data scientist or someone, right? Whether it has been for any type of company, what I have actually seen is that this second point again, it's also kind of equally important as the real world data set issue is. Okay, so the second point is your deployment issue. So what happens is, okay, let me just kind of look through the comments. Maybe some comments would be regarding this issue, and then we will actually talk about this. Okay, so just give me a second. Okay, so a lot of you guys are actually kind of asking questions. That's great, guys. So do wait. Okay, don't just leave this session immediately, okay, after a few minutes or something, because we will be addressing these questions as well. Okay, so do be here. Okay, all right. So let me just see if any question is like related to exactly this point or not. Okay, all right, okay. Okay, so Lakshmi Anand is all asking, so do we do every project in capstone project end to end? Yeah, so Lakshmi, so in the case of our course, yes, we did. If you are referring to that capstone project, so for both the capstone projects are done end to end completely. Okay, and yes, I would suggest generally as well, whenever you guys are actually dealing with any kind of project, right? Whether it's a hobby project, whether it's a project which you are kind of taking a freelancing kind of thing or something like that, just try to do it as end to end possible as you could. Okay, because the more you do it, right, the more you will understand how that is. Okay, and let me just explain that to you, why that is, and why end to end, or why deployment is basically really important. Okay, let me just give you that. So what happens is, in hiring scenario, okay, just let's put you in the center of the hiring scenario. Okay, so let's say that you are actually going to like going to a job interview or something like that, right? And basically what happens is that the company which you are going to like for the interview, right? That company itself, right? That company itself could be a smaller company, so kind of a startup or something, or it could be a corporate company, a big multinational company, something like that stuff, right? There are only kind of these two areas only, or a medium based company, but generally we usually get the calls from either multinationals because they are more approachable, they have a brand, we can apply easily to them and all that, or we get approached by startups because they are a lot more aggressive in their approach to us. Okay, because they need talent a lot, right? So in both of these cases, what will happen is that if you are getting hired by a startup, right, a startup doesn't have infinite resources like a big corporate. Okay, they have finite resources, they can only hire finite people, they can only basically have a small teams to solve a specific problem, right? So what that means is that in startups, right, you might be required to do a lot of roles other than specifically your machine learning engineer, or other than specifically your data scientist role, right? So in that case, what happens is, if you don't understand the deployment part, or if you don't understand the pre-processing part, or if you are not aware of, okay, I have built this model, how this model will be productized, how this model will fit in the full pipeline of the business product which they are developing, which the company is developing. In that case, what happens is the company has to bring someone in, okay, as a kind of as a additional unit to you, okay, who can actually tell them all of that details as well, right? So in that case, the company's cost will increase. Obviously, the company will say, okay, I am kind of hiring two guys now instead of one guy, right? So, and let's take a kind of a simultaneous other situation, right? That if any other person who might have been interviewing with you for that same job, right, if they actually had that experience where they already knew how to do deployment, how to basically set up the full pipeline where the product can be where the model can be actually productized, right, through whatever models you are building or whatever analysis you are doing, right? If they already knew that, right, the company would have to hire only one person, and in that case you would be rejected from that job application. right? So this is a typical scenario in smaller companies and in startups, right? Now you can say that, okay, fine, then I can apply to big companies, right? Then I can apply to multinational companies, and they will easily be giving me the opportunity because I am good at machine learning. The only thing I'm not good at is deployment or the understanding the full pipeline of a machine learning project or something like that. In that case as well, you would be in a lot of trouble. Why would that be? So let me take a very optimistic my very optimistic situation that yes, you get hired on just the basis of the fact that you only have knowledge in machine learning. Fine, all right. But what happens after that is that they have different teams for different work. Okay, so a big multinational company have different teams for your big data engineering, for your deployment purposes, right? For your machine learning, for your data analysis as well. They sometimes have a different team, and for machine learning they have a different team, right? So they have these different teams, and that's correct, fine. But these teams communicate so regularly and so effectively every day, right, that you need to understand a little bit about what the other team is doing. Only in that case you would be able to communicate with them. See, in a case of a human to human communication as well, you cannot communicate to another person if you don't exactly, or if you don't know at all what that person is doing, right? Only you will only be able to communicate with someone if you know what a little bit about what they do on their regular basis or something like that, right? So that makes your deployment or understanding the full machine learning pipeline really important, because no matter what kind of company you are going in, right, it would be really important that you understand what the full pipeline of a machine learning project is. Okay, I would just give you a small example for these two situations as well. So I think most of you guys would have soft at some point of time a job description for data scientist or analyst or maybe machine learning engineer role, right? So, and what you might have actually saw in that was that, okay, they have written a lot of roles, right? They need Kafka, they need machine learning, they need statistics, they need Hadoop, Spark, whatever, right? They need all of these skills, right? Why is that? The one reason why is that they are a small company, right? They want you to build their models, to analyze the data themselves, and then after you have done that, they also want you to deploy it as an API or as a standalone system on their own servers or something like that, right? And after that, once you have deployed that as well, then they also want your input in improving it from the business perspective as well, what kind of feedback they are getting, all of that stuff, right? That's why they have included all of those tools. That's why they have actually included all of those skills in that job description. Now if you take another job description, okay, which is in the case of a multinational company, then in multinational company, yes, it frequently happens that the job roles are a little bit limited. Okay, they are asking that, okay, you should only know machine learning, and that would be a plus, and that would be a plus, and okay, fine. But another thing which they mention is that you should be a good team player, that you should be a good you should be good in your communication skills, right? All of that stuff. Now why is that? Because in a big company, in a multinational kind of company, they need people who can work together as a team effectively. Otherwise, their products, their services kind of gets hanged up. Okay, because the system is so big in case of multinationals that many people have to work together to achieve the result for every day. That's the process, right? If you don't understand what the big data engineer is saying, or what the data analyst is saying, right, in that case you will be stuck with your position, and you will be kind of in a very tight spot where you won't be able to explain to your manager, explain to the people in higher management that why aren't you able to deliver results. Okay, because you would be good at machine learning, okay, fine, that's no problem, you would be good at machine learning, but the thing will be that you won't know what to do with it, because other peoples are kind of speaking in a foreign language which is not understood by you. Okay, so that's the major point why your deployment skills, or I would say kind of a end-to-end machine learning pipeline kind of skill is really really important, when you are actually trying to get into data science area, like trying to find a job in that area. Okay, so that's something you should be like particular about. Okay, and this is a very specific reason, because after the Inception course is actually kind of designed to make people employable in this field, and not just kind of they know about machine learning and stuff, right? This is the main and critical reason why we actually include the deployment and all of the end-to-end details about the two capstone projects which we'll do. Okay, so that's the main reason why this happens in Inception as well. Okay, all right, so now we have actually covered 2 points. Okay, 2 points why it is really important to firstly deal with real world data sets. Okay, try to understand how to deal with any kind of data set, irrespective of the fact what's the size of the data set and how complex that data set is in terms of its quality and the missing values, invalid values, corrupted values, and all of that stuff, right? So that's the first point. The second point is that you should be aware of your full end-to-end machine learning pipeline, right? So you should be aware of how modeling is done, how data processing is done, how deployment is as well, how can you deploy all of those results of a model of an analysis, right, in a product kind of thing, right? So that's kind of a deployment area, right? Now, once you have done this, right, then there are other things as well, which are not directly a skill set, but kind of a, I would say, a requirement to build those skill sets. Okay, so let me come to those as well. But before, I would just check a few questions, and then I can just discuss on them as well, and then we will come back to those points. All right. So let me just check out the comments which we are getting. Okay. Okay, so Shilpa is saying attended a few interviews but felt the difference in working on the public data sets which you kind of get online or for free or for like just a few MB of size or something like that, right? And the challenge in production is different. That's why I asked how much was the data size and how do you handle real stream data and clean it. Right. So that's a great question actually, Shilpa. And for the course perspective, right? We obviously do a lot of that stuff because the data sets we have with us for the capstone projects, those are really real world data sets. They are not just your typical normal data sets like your Iris data set or your Titanic data set, which most of the people when they're starting with machine learning deal with. Okay, and with which most of the people start their machine learning journey, right? There is nothing wrong with those data sets. It's just like you will never get those kind of data sets in a real world scenario. You will never get that kind of data. Okay, Titanic happened like 100 years back, and that is 100 years. Uh, that's the data for past 100 years, right? That's not the situation of the data right now. Okay, so like learning with that or learning the techniques of machine learning with that data set is fine, but if you are trying to understand how things are done in industry, then that data set is not a perfect fit. Okay, all right. uh, all right, so let me answer some other questions. Okay. All right, Lakshmi is asking in the actual syllabus, you have not mentioned pipeline AWS deployment. Okay, so will we be continuing with that? Yeah. So Lakshmi, what happens is that the syllabus which you would be currently seeing on our website or on our curriculum, right? That is the syllabus of or the topics we will cover exactly, right? So kind of the machine learning topics we will be covering, right? However, this is the approach we are dealing with. So how do we cover those topics? What exactly the process we actually follow to cover those topics and to basically kind of do all of the projects which we have mentioned and all that stuff, right? This is more of an approach and not of a topic. We are not going to teach you just like as a topic what a deployment is. We are going to show you, we are going to take you on a journey of deploying a machine learning model of or on a journey of basically a full machine learning pipeline, okay, of the project, and then you will understand it yourself how to basically deploy and how to basically kind of productize a machine learning model. Okay, that's the goal here. Okay, all right. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. So just one more question. Okay. Okay, so Amardeep is saying, is that ML engineer role you are referring to? No. So Amardeep, the role which I am referring to is kind of a general role. These skills which I am talking about currently, that will help you in any kind of role you are working with in data science industry. Okay, so even if you are looking for a data scientist kind of role, or data analyst, or machine learning engineer, okay, or big data engineer, right? All of these roles will be kind of having a help if you understand these skills, if you understand how to deal with the skills which I'm talking about. Okay, so and why that is basically is, so try to just understand. So currently data science is right, currently a new thing. Okay, especially in India it's relatively new. Okay, a lot of companies are still struggling to kind of have a effective data science pipeline. Okay, they still can't figure out what exactly should we do with data science. Okay, and how do I know this? I have consulted for multiple companies. Okay, and the major issue which I feel is with them is that they are not clear on the problem they want to solve with data science. Okay, so if they are not clear with the problem which they want to solve with data science, right, in that case what happens is they would be very picky. They would be very they would not be that much open to a quick hiring. Okay, they would take their time because they don't understand what they require, right? That's also one of the reasons that you see these kind of job descriptions, that they have so many skills, right? And you think to yourself that, okay, how is this related to this one, or how is this related to this one? That's also one of the reasons, because they don't understand what they need, so they basically include everything in the job descriptions. Okay, so that's the one thing. So this is not just about the ML engineer role. This is about data scientists as well, data analysts as well, because all of these roles are actually dealing with data, right? They are actually analyzing the data as well, except your big data engineer role, which is more to the infrastructure and deployment side. But even they should understand how to talk with data scientists, how to talk with data analysts, how to talk with your machine learning engineers, because they will also kind of they will basically take the models from them and deploy it with their company's infrastructure, organization infrastructure. Okay, so it's basically kind of a generic skill set only. All right. Okay. All right. So okay, Niharika is saying, but MNCs require people with experience, right? That's true, Niharika, right? Companies do require people with experience, and especially MNCs, right? But who said exactly that the MNCs won't hire anyone, right, who do have the experience with these problems, or who is basically able to solve these problems, right? They just haven't been into a machine learning role or data scientist role for like 1 year or 1.5 year. That's not the case. I have hired people who are fresh, who haven't done a job in their life. Okay, and they were good because they have implemented so many projects themselves. They have implemented so many end-to-end projects. They understood how Facebook image recognition is working on an end-to-end level. That's kind of sophistication is really hard to find in a talent resource pool, right? So if I'm a company, I would be really hungry for the talent resource pool. I would be really hungry for great engineers, for great data scientists, right? And if I'm getting them, why would I care like whether they have a 1 year experience or experience if they can prove it to me that yes, they can deploy, they can build, they can analyze, and they can deliver the value to my business. That's the simple case, and that's really the truth of it. And because it's so simple, now the truth is so simple, this truth, right? Most people kind of don't believe it. They say, no, this is really simple. Hey guys, so yeah, reality is simple. It's not that difficult. It's just that to get to that level, we kind of have to be creative. We have to be kind of innovative, right? And to do that, it's little bit difficult. I agree with you there, and it's a little bit challenging than your regular path, right? But the fruit or the result of that is definitely guaranteed. Okay, that's the point actually here. All right, it's not just about the experience. So it doesn't matter if you have 2 years of experience. Okay, if you cannot deliver, even if you get hired into a new job, you will be thrown out of it in 2 months or 4 months or 5 months or 6 months, or you won't be able to continue because the stress and the pressure would be so much that you would be like, okay, I cannot deliver. I'm losing my mind. And that really happens. A lot of people get hired incorrectly or through false details in their resumes, and then they are like, okay, I cannot deliver on these promises which you are asking me to deliver on, right? And they just quit the job. That's what happens. Okay, so you need to build your skill set properly, and the jobs and the opportunities will follow easily. All right. Okay, so now let's discuss about the third thing which I was going to like discuss as a continuation to this one, to the deployment point. Was so what happens is that when you are actually dealing with the machine learning or machine learning pipeline and then deployment and all of that stuff, right? See, understanding the overall approach is really easy. You might have also seen this in the bootcamp itself, right? So we had a 3-day bootcamp. I told you the approach of how you can actually go from one end, which is the starting end, right? And how can you kind of create this application which we created at the end, right? But obviously we weren't able to discuss all the details of it because of the time constraints, right? We only had like 5 or few hours, right, to discuss all of that stuff. So in that case, what happens is that you understand the approach. You are comfortable with, okay, what is happening, right? So in a layman's term, you know about what exactly is happening with the system, right? But you won't be able to do it yourself, right? That's a problem which I have seen with a lot of people who I have hired as an intern. Okay, so what happens is that when you hire interns, right, people generally kind of have a little bit of experience. So the same experience which I'm basically currently talking about. So kind of an approach experience, but they don't really understand the details of it, right? And I don't know how many of you have heard of this quote, very famous quote, is that devil is in the details, guys. Okay, so you need to understand the details properly, right, so that you can implement any project which the company or the organization wants you to. Okay, you can give the custom solution to them. If you only understand the approach, you will be only able to give them an approach. Okay, you won't be able to implement those approach, okay, for them. And that's not what the company has hired you to do, right? What the company has hired you to do is they have hired you to advise them on the approach as well. And then once the approaches are finalized and you have selected the best approach, then the company has also hired you to kind of implement those approaches, right? But you will only be able to do it if you understand the details of the process, right? That's really important. Okay, and see, now there are two ways you can understand the details of the process. Okay, I will tell you both the ways. Okay, the first way is really excruciating, right? Filled with pain. Okay, it's really long journey. Okay, I'm not saying that you don't get the results after that. I'm not really saying that. Okay, it's I have seen a lot of people who have actually followed this way. Okay, which is the excruciating, painful way to do it. Okay, but they have also achieved the results. No doubt about it. Okay, I'm not kind of like challenging that fact. Okay, the another way, so basically this first way is that learning everything by yourself. Okay, not asking anyone anything. Okay, not taking help from any kind of mentor, not taking any kind of help from your from a colleague, from a person who might know about this, from a person on online forums or online social media sites like LinkedIn or maybe Facebook or somewhere, right? So doing everything on your own. Okay, not collaborating with GitHub people. Okay, GitHub open source profiles or something like that, not doing that. That's the first way. Okay, it works, but it's really long. And see, the thing is, in this scenario today, right, machine learning today is not what machine learning was like 4 years or 5 years back. So the job market in machine learning or data science is not exactly what it was 4 years back. Okay, 4 years back, if you knew machine learning, you were really hot in the market. Okay, people will pick up you like this. Okay, Currently, that's not the situation. Currently, the situation is that there are a lot of people who are coming in machine learning, right? They are throwing their skills at the market. They are also getting hired because there are a lot of demand in this area, right? But now the stakes have risen a little bit. Okay, they are not at this level, they are not at this level. Okay, so you have to act quickly because these stakes will keep on rising. Okay, because as more and more people try to kind of get into machine learning because they are realizing the potential of this area, right, and they are realizing that they can grow a lot in this area, the stakes would keep on increasing, right? So the quicker you act on the opportunity side, the quicker you get an opportunity, the better it is for you. Okay, so in that case, the approach one doesn't really work. Okay, what works is that you take help from someone who has already been there and done that. Okay, now what you need is that you need to know or talk to someone who can basically guide you through the details of the process. Okay, if you understand the approach, great, awesome, because see, approach is the main thing. But once you have understood the approach, you should also be able to like kind of walk through the details of that approach, right? For that, if you have some kind of a guide with you or a mentor with you, right, that's an extremely valuable asset, guys. Don't like underestimate the value of having a mentor or having a guide in this process. Okay, because if that is there with you, your time could be reduced like to a factor of even like 5 or 8 times. Okay, so if it took you like, let's say, like 2 years with the approach one, it might just take you around 3 to 4 months. That is possible if you have. So if you have at the starting of the process, if you understand the approaches, if you understand the techniques, but then you are working with the specific details and the process of that approach, and in that point you had a guide and a mentor with you. Okay, so that is what this point is all about, is having a mentor with your side. Okay, even in our Inception course, if you look, right, we have a 24/7 priority support, guys. Okay, we have live Q&A sessions every week. That's because of the understanding from my side that once you are learning about machine learning, it's really, really important to have a mentor with you, to have a guide with you who can handhold you through the entire process. Okay, it's not like we actually just teach them online that okay, this is machine learning, this is random forest, this is decision trees, and we just leave all of it to them, like okay, solve everything from yourself, we have told you the theory. It's not like that. Any problem, any issue anyone faces in the course, from when they are basically enrolled in our course, they basically get a immediate priority support, either from my side, or if the query is really simple, it's really basic, then anyone from our team basically answers that immediately as soon as possible, so within a few minutes even. Okay, that's because of the reason that we believe and we understand from our previous experiences and from my specific previous experiences while interviewing a lot of guys for data scientist and data analyst role, that if you don't have a mentor, you are okay with the approach, but you are not okay with the process and the details of that process, and that's really something which you shouldn't ignore. Okay, so even if you're not coming to the Inception course, it's fine. So this one is obviously I'm just kind of trying to deliver value, right? Because particularly if I will just say directly to your face, we here are not really sales guys. We are not that, and I think you can tell that as well, right, directly to by just seeing us, right? We are really technical guys. Okay, the whole team is basically made up of mostly technical guys only. Okay, and the only thing which we want, right, is basically to deliver value to as much people as we can, right? The Inception course is obviously something where we are actually giving you an exclusive time from our side, right? We are really focusing on the growth, okay, for your career in machine learning and data science. So that is obviously a paid thing. I think everybody understands that, right? But that's not the only goal we have. The major goal we have is to basically deliver you value. That's why there is a boot camp. That's why there is so much of an effort from our side to actually solve as many doubt, as many questions you are getting. We have been getting so many questions through our personal chat, through our Facebook group, right, online, right, after the boot camp. And we have been continuously doing that. We have been continuously trying to solve those questions as much as we can. I know we have missed a lot of the questions because the speed and the rate of the questions is so much, right? But that's the goal here, actually, to share our knowledge to as many people as possible. Okay, and that's what basically this mentorship session is. And we are also going to have a few other mentorship sessions as well following this today. Okay, so and on Saturday and Sunday also we are planning a few mentorship sessions, so do check them out as well. All right, but that's the major goal. Okay, and that's the thing. Basically, we try to mentor as many people as possible to like as maximum of a scale as possible. Obviously, in bootcamp, that mentorship is a little limited because of the time constraint and because of the number of people we have. And obviously, that kind of increases a lot more when you are in Inception. But the main point is to basically mentor as much as we can. Okay, because see, without mentorship it would take you a really long time, and it's not really worth it. It's not really worth it. Why are you basically trying to get to a field, right, through a long path when there is a very shorter path available? It just doesn't make sense. Okay, so that's the point with the mentors. That's the point with your with having a mentor with you, having a guide with you who can just guide you on the path which you are traveling on. Okay, all right, so that's my third point. Okay, mentor, find a guide who can help you with the process, and then just continue on that journey. Okay, all right. The fourth point is not directly a skill. Okay, as your third point wasn't also a kind of a direct skill, but it would be very beneficial when you are actually working with, or when you're basically trying to get into a job related to data science. Okay, all right. Now the fourth point, okay, would be that once you are ready, okay, once you are like, okay, I understand about machine learning, I understand about I understand about your techniques, I understand about deployment, all of that stuff, right? What should I do? How would companies know about me? How would companies know that, okay, like I'm ready for getting hired and I'm ready to do some work, right? So just hire me. How would they know about that? See, you need to learn to market yourself as well. The better you market yourself, the better you are at showing yourself in terms of, yes, I know about this stuff and I can do so and so in this kind of domain, right? The better you are at this, there is a much higher chance that you would be getting hired much more quickly than any other your counterpart in the market. Okay, this is the fourth point. Okay, so you have portfolio grooming. Portfolio grooming basically refers out to that you are kind of not just working on your technical skill sets, but you're also working out how are you presenting yourself in an overall professional manner to the world. Okay, so you should have a tip top LinkedIn profile, you should have a tip top resume, you should only include what needs to be included, and you should be as active as possible on most of the fronts from where you can get the opportunities. Okay, that's the reason, that's the ultimate reason, because I told you that Inception is also about making people employable in machine learning and data science, right? So that's the reason why we also give you career support services in that. Okay, because like without that you won't know how to market yourself. So any course, anyone who is basically talking about making you employable, right, they should focus on how you can also get in the front of employers, not just how much you know or how much you understand about the domain, right? So that's the fourth thing, portfolio grooming. Okay, how good you are and how are you showing how good you are. Okay, so that's what we are talking about in portfolio grooming, that we basically teach you all of the things that how you can perfectly market yourself, right, using LinkedIn, using your resume, using the writing techniques which you have, all of the other stuff as well, right? All of those techniques are kind of combined to make you as much approachable and employable as possible. Okay, so just keep this in mind that if you are working out on your skills regarding machine learning, data science, big data, whatever it is, right? Don't forget to also also showcase this in some manner, right? To the employers, to the organizations, to anyone who can actually give you an opportunity. Either it could be a job, either it could be an internship, but whatever. Okay. So that's my fourth point, and those were the 4 points which I wanted to discuss with you guys. Okay. So now let's take a little bit of questions. Okay. If I am not able to cover the questions, right, guys? So all of the questions, obviously, it could be a little bit of like a lot of questions, and maybe the time constraint won't be able to give us the opportunity to cover each of the questions, right? But what you can do is you can just post them out on a thread. Okay, I will make a thread. You can ask questions there for your for this mentorship session, and I will try to answer them as much as possible as soon as possible. Okay, so let's see. Okay, let me just read them. There are a lot big paragraphs. Okay, so Shayan is saying individual project, does it count as experience as many companies look for experienced candidate? Shayan, so I would suggest you that you don't just do individual projects, make individual products. Okay, so in this case, the bootcamp case where we covered that simple application, right? That was not a project, that was a product. Okay, that was an application built end to end, right? Now you don't have to build always an application. You can build a web application kind of thing, or web portal where you are showing some kind of your analysis, right? It doesn't even have to be a machine learning project. It could be simple statistical analysis project. It could be a simple just data pre-processing and data handling project, right? But you need to showcase the results of those projects. If you don't showcase the results of those projects, how can anyone understand what you have done? If you are writing about the projects, okay, that I have done this, I have done this in your resume, nobody has the time in their lives to read all of that stuff on your resume. It really is difficult. I get so many resumes, I get so many profiles, and what happens is that when I am downloading those resumes and those profiles now, I am always like kind of scanning. Okay, he's from here. Okay, then after this, okay, this person is from this company. Okay, he has kind of just done this project. I'm not generally able to go into the details of each project. Some people give me even like 2 or 3 page portfolios, 2 or 3 page portfolios. That is really difficult to read and understand. Okay, so try to make them as easy to see and kind of visualize as possible. Okay, for that case you can make not just projects but kind of applications, or kind of your like dashboards or stuff like that. Okay, all right, so let's take another question. uh, what are exactly, okay, Hamid is asking what are exactly 2 capstone project areas which will be done as exercise. So Hamid, we can actually, if you are interested in that, the Inception course, we can actually send you a detailed analysis or detailed syllabus for that. But let me just give you a quick brief. So the 2 capstone project areas which we'll be covering would be, one would be a New York cab data set, right, which basically deals with the rides which people have taken in New York taxis, and we would be kind of optimizing the price of those rides depending upon the data which we have. Okay, the data is basically approximately of 65 plus GB size. Okay, so we'll be dealing that kind of data in this case. And another project which we have is Stack Overflow auto tagging of the questions. So if you understand what Stack Overflow website is, you might be already aware that there are a lot of questions on Stack Overflow website, and they are tagged for the topics which are included in that question, right? So this tagging is done automatically, and we will see how that automatic tagging is done. Okay, using the data set which we have from Stack Overflow, and the data which we have from Stack Overflow, that amounts to be around 250 plus GB. Okay, when extracted and completely kind of extracted from the zip file which it is originally in. Okay, so that's the capstone projects which we are talking about here, and those are basically kind of done end to end, from starting till end of a deployment on the cloud architecture, whether it is AWS or Google Cloud. So that kind of stuff. Okay, all right, so I'm sure you are clear about this. However, we will also, like, you can just also leave your email or something, okay, through which we can contact you, and then we can actually send you a detailed syllabus on that. Okay, all right, so Amrendra is saying, is R and Python sufficient to get opportunity in industry, or any other thing is required along with these? So Amrendra, R and Python are basically the programming languages or the languages which you are using, okay, to analyze the data. Alongside that, you also need the analytical skills like your machine learning, statistical skills, and all of that stuff as well. And this is also not enough, okay. Other than that, you also need to understand how you can work with big data sets, right, using the frameworks which you already have, so like Spark or cloud architectures like AWS and Google Cloud, all of that stuff. So once you understand all of these components, then you are a certifiable data analyst or a data scientist who can work with the problems which are present in the industry. Okay, that's the overall like framework how to become a data scientist, you can say. All right. So, okay. Okay. Amardeep is saying, are we also learning about Spark? I guess, Amardeep, you are talking about the Inception course. So, yes, we would also be working with Spark. So, we would be basically working with the integration of Python and Spark. Okay. So, Spark is kind of a big data framework which helps us in kind of dealing with big data sets like your New York Cap data set, which is of 65 GB, or your Stack Overflow data set, which is of 250 GB, right? So we would be working with Spark. I would be introducing the concept of Spark to you, and we would be discussing a bit about their architecture and how Spark works and how it is better, what can you do, use it for, and all of that stuff. Then we would be working on the practical aspect of Spark. We would be using it through Python or alongside Python to process our bigger data sets on Google Cloud and AWS depends upon which cloud we are using. So we are going to use both the cloud systems, but one for each project. Okay. All right. So let's see. Manohar is saying, in your Inception program, do we also learn about how to collect data and formulate business questions? All right. All courses uses iris or MNIST or something. The data is already structured. Will you also teach us? Yeah. So Manohar, as I told you, right, that we on Inception believe in a very practical and very industry oriented approach. We don't really believe in that. Yes, I tell you the techniques of machine learning or data science or something like that, and you just kind of go on your one way path. That's not the thing we do here. Okay. The major thing which we focus on is that once you are done with Inception, right, you are as close to the industry as possible. Okay. So from our previous feedbacks, what we have learned from our students on call or on messages, that once when they did go through the interview opportunity, whenever they were called, right, they never ever failed for any technical question which was kind of thrown at them in the interview. Okay. They always told me that everything was from the course as it is, like it was never out of the scope of the course, because we are so much detail oriented and industry oriented that they will never ask you anything out of the scope of this syllabus. If you are applying for machine learning jobs, for the jobs which are kind of oriented to machine learning or data science. Okay. However, this is not obviously including your deep learning. This curriculum doesn't include deep learning. So for deep learning jobs, it would not be if enough. But for all the machine learning jobs, which are the most majority of the jobs right now, deep learning are still is a relatively new area, and not every company is going into deep learning right away. Okay. And even if they are going, they need machine learning engineers as well. Okay. So for that, this specification is more than enough. Okay. All right. And if you are talking about like how to collect data and how to formulate business questions, that is also done while we are starting up the Inception question. So the first thing which we try to cultivate in our students or cultivate in our whoever is basically enrolling into the Inception course is that we try to make them understand that data science and machine learning is a service oriented area. Okay. We are always working for someone. Okay. Either we are working for sales department, or we are working for marketing department, or we are working for engineering department, or we are working for maybe your finance department. Doesn't matter. We are always working for someone. The models, the analysis, the dashboards, the reports, everything, every product, everything is basically created for someone. Okay. So if you are working for someone, then you need to understand what their problem is, what their question is. Only then you can actually kind of I don't know, like kind of solve that using your models, using your analysis and all of that stuff. right? So that's what our approach is. So obviously we do cover these things as well, and we don't really go with just your iris or MNIST data sets, because see, MNIST data set we already cover in the bootcamp itself. That's really simple, right? You already know about MNIST data set. It's really relatively simple data set, right? What we cover, we try to cover each and every topic with a relatively newer data set, right? So the concepts which are made understood to all of you guys, whoever enrolls to the Inception course, are through a newer data set. Those data sets are relatively smaller, okay, because we are just like kind of discussing what linear regression is or something like that. But once you complete the regression module itself, right, then we actually move on to the main project which handles the regression problem. Okay, so basically what we have is we have 5 projects in our course, in Inception course, and out of those, 2 projects are the capstone projects which are done at the end of the course, so which are New York cab taxi and the Stack Overflow project. And the 3 projects which are done are basically about your specific modules. So one is regarding regression, the another is regarding classification, and the another is regarding unsupervised learning. And those 3 projects are also based out of data which is industry oriented only. It's not your MNIST or IRIS data sets. Okay, you can also check out the course data sets on our website itself. All right, so let me see other questions. Okay. Okay, Vaibhav is asking how much important role does a hackathon play to get real world data science ML project exposure? Okay, this is really interesting question, guys. Really important. I think everyone should actually understand the answer to this question. Is that okay? I will give you an example. So we develop racing cars, right? So we have racing cars, and then we have normal cars, right? Normal cars are used for everyday transport, right? You cannot use a racing car for everyday transport, right? The same analogy applies to your hackathons or machine learning competitions as well, right? Machine learning competitions are really great if you want to understand the specifics of your machine learning algorithms, and like how to exactly tweak your machine learning algorithm to the best of its efficiency. That is what machine learning hackathons are for. Okay, but in business scenarios, which is like your normal day-to-day transport kind of situation, in our case, in our analogy, right, in that case hackathons will not give you that much of an advantage. Okay, what will give you an advantage is trying out different kind of problems and trying to solve them from your skill set. So machine learning, data science, statistical analysis, and all of that stuff. So exactly working on a problem long enough to get like every inch or every bit of accuracy from that problem, that is not that much of a business case scenario. Okay, businesses actually don't care about, like, for example, if they are getting a 81.1% accuracy and someone asks them that, okay, you will have to wait 2 months and I will make it 81.2% accuracy. People generally will say no in business, because okay, I don't want 0.1% more accuracy by waiting 2 months. Obviously this is dependent upon the domain as well. If the domain is maybe healthcare or something, they might say yes for that, but in most of the scenarios it will be kind of a no in the businesses, right? So I think you are getting the answer which I'm getting to, right? That ML hackathons or ML competitions are good if you want to kind of increase your efficiency in your machine learning algorithm techniques, right? However, to be more industry oriented, I would suggest you to get to more industry related problems and how to exactly solve them from with a proper approach. Okay, that would be my answer. All right. Amrendra is asking what's the duration of the course and the fee structure. Okay, so Amrendra, the duration of the course would be for the Inception is 4 months, and the fee structure, I guess we explained this previously as well, that we basically take monthly fees. So like every month you are actually charged $95 a month or 6,514 INR amount. Okay, and that is basically the fee structure for this course. All right, let's see. Chitranshu is saying what will be the time slot for the classes. Okay, so Chitranshu, for the classes, the time slot is for the weekend classes which we have, weekend live sessions which we are going to do. Those are from 7 p.m. IST. Okay, and for every Saturday, Sunday we have a 2 hour session on 7 p.m. Okay, so 7 to 9 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday. All right, And basically we also have a live Q&A session every week. So whatever doubts you have till that point of time when we are having that Q&A, you can ask that on the group, and that will be basically solved on the live Q&A. However, that is not the only method we solve the doubts. We also give a priority support system as well, where you can actually ask the doubts anytime, okay, on the group and or on the chat itself, okay, and then we actually solve that on a priority basis. So generally you get a response from our side on an average of like a few minutes, maybe like 40 minutes or something like that. It depends upon your complexity of the query as well, but that's usually the time. Okay, all right, so okay. Okay, Shubham is asking, will there be project specific sessions? Yes. So what happens, guys, that the sessions which we are doing, right, which we are going through for every weekend, right? Your projects are covered within the sessions. However, when your project is going on, then at that time only the project is going on. Okay, we are working with the project continuously. We are refining it. We are tweaking the model again and again. We are trying to see what kind of features we can engineer. We are trying to evaluate the model as best as possible. Then we are getting into the deployment. All of that stuff is basically being done. So it's not like we are also kind of like learning the theory, but we are also kind of doing the projects at the time. It's basically like once you have learned something, then we apply it to the fullest extent possible to a industry oriented project. That's what happens. All right, so let's see. Okay. Someone is asking any project on NLP. So Suman, the project which we do in Inception for Stack Overflow, right? The Stack Overflow project which we have, that's directly a natural language processing or a NLP project as per se. All right. So okay, let's see any other questions. Okay. Okay, Manish is saying, I completed ML courses from Demi and did solve problems from Kaggle. Can you please tell me how can I crack the interview and build work like experienced people? Data processing and ML algorithm selection is a main task for any ML engineer. Yeah, that's correct, Manish. That data processing and ML algorithm selection is a main task. However, the thing is that throughout the time, right, it has been really clear that which kind of algorithms specifically work on which kind of problems, right? And the data processing part which you're talking about, right, that is something very ad hoc in nature. Okay, you never know what kind of data set you are going to get, right? So the data processing is really ad hoc in nature. Sometimes you apply some kind of techniques, other times you apply some kind of transformations, and the work is done, right? But what I can actually give you an advice as in terms of how you can actually kind of crack the interview, right, is that first of all focus on the points which I mentioned. So the real world data set, you need to work with that. Generally the data sets which you deal with on Kaggle are generally, I'm not saying all of the data sets are like that, but generally the data sets which you deal with on Kaggle are a little bit more structured, a little bit more clean. Okay, so that generally doesn't give you that kind of an advantage in terms of real world data sets. However, some of their data sets are really good and messy and kind of really a little bit related to the real world data set scenario, so that you can check out. Other than that, as I mentioned, that you should actually understand the full machine learning pipeline or the deployment plus data processing plus the modeling part and all of the other stuff as well, right? So you should be able to build products and services and applications and not just models. Okay, that's my full analysis over here. Okay, other than that, the main thing which I think you should get is a mentor, is a guide. Whether it's me or not, that's obviously up to you, but obviously you should get someone who can guide you through the each details or each obviously I would say pitfalls of the approach. Okay, so that would be a much better way to learn and to crack the interview. Okay, and other than that, it would be great if you can actually kind of groom your portfolio as much as possible. You can be active as much as possible in terms of from where the opportunity can come to you. That would be my last advice to you. All right, okay, so okay, let's see. Okay, I think I have kind of answered most of the questions. So, okay. All right, so guys, I think most of the questions you have asked is answered because I'm only able to see a few of the questions here because there are a lot of comments in this section, in this area. All right, so what I will do is I would be signing off right now, okay? But as soon as I sign off, I would be posting a comment, okay? I would be not a comment, sorry. I would be posting a post, okay? And I would be making it like, please ask any of your questions related to today's mentorship session here, okay? And you can then just post your question on the comment section and we will try to get back to you as soon as possible, okay? We will try to even answer a few of them, like most of them tonight itself, okay? So just do that, all right? For now, I'm just signing off, okay? But as soon as that is done, I will be just posting that post, so do that, okay? All right, have a great night, guys, or have a great day if you are outside India. All right, bye bye.